Alright, the last thing that we're going to do with this image is create an artistic blend. Now, it's a pretty nice image as it is, but I think that there's some things that we can do out of the ordinary that would make it pretty cool. Now, what I'm going to do is grab this image and drag it in. Now, to do this, you will need to come up with some of your own blend images, and I'm just dragging this over, make it a little bit straighter. You'll need to come up with your own. I can't provide these for you, but I can sure show you what to do with them if you have them. Sometimes it's a matter of taking a picture of texture. There's a lot of different things, a lot of different styles that you can use, different types of images. But somebody created this and shared it with me, and I just like it a whole lot. So what we're going to do now is change this layer to overlay mode. And see, there's without it and there's with it. It just changes the feel, and it kind of gives it an artistic feel. Now if we zoom in, you're going to see a lot of this texture on her skin, on her face. We can do without that. So what we're going to do, now we can't just create a layer mask and brush it off, because, well, let me show you what's going to happen if we do that. There's a layer mask, and there's our brush. Make it 100%, and it's black. So if we do that, we're getting the original skin tones, and that just doesn't look natural. So we're going to get rid of that layer mask, but we don't want this texture on there. We want the color tones, but we don't want the texture. So go get your lasso and make sure that it's set to add to selection, and we're just going to go around her body and keep on adding to the selection. And there's really nothing to talk about while we do this. It's just a matter of taking our time and doing it right. Doesn't have to be perfect, and there are ways to come back and fix any imperfections, and I'll show you that in a minute. That was a little bit too much, but that's okay. So what we want to do now that we have her selected is go to Filter, Gaussian Blur, and if you look here in the preview, you can see there we're getting texture. There's 0. There's the normal texture that we're dealing with. So if we bring it in, and we deal with about in that range somewhere, then click OK. We have a lot better skin tones with her with no texture. But if you see up here, there's still some problems that we want to get rid of. So we went a little bit too far out, and we've got a little bit too much blur. And there's a good example of where you can see what's happening. This area here had the blur, and this area didn't. So let's click on your selection right there and grab a black tool. Oh, that's a lasso, sorry. Paintbrush, black paint, 100%. We're going to lower the diameter and just come in and brush on those areas. Now it's not important if some of the texture gets on the edge of her hair, in those areas, or even on some of her clothes. We just don't really want it on her skin that much. So just kind of going along the edges, making sure that there's plenty of texture. And again, even if you're on her clothes, it's not going to show up a whole lot. The biggest problem is when it's on her skin. But you just want to make sure that if there's any areas that like there. I went a little bit wide on my lasso. There's an area right there. You can see that it's blurred. Let me color that in. We got some texture. And so I'm even going into her clothes, like right there. With the patterns in the jeans, you can't tell. No big deal. Get it right there. And let's zoom out. That looks pretty cool.